Let's face it, hiring help is not easy these days. Let XenTegra Staffing help you find the right person for the right job. Head over to XenTegra.com/XenTegra Staffing to find out more and let us staff your people needs. Welcome to another Citrix session with your host, Andy Whiteside and Bill Sutton, your source for all things Citrix.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the Citrix session. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I've got with me Bill Sutton. Bill, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well, Andy. How about you?
It's going okay. I think I was just telling you guys I'm just coming off a couple of days of vacation, and I am just overwhelmed with things I've got to follow up on. It just keeps piling on this morning. So the message is don't ever go on vacation, I guess.
I also one correction, just to be clear, is for the record, it's episode 32.
Episode 32. Sorry about that. Great.
Okay.
Well, thanks for keeping me straight. And we've got with us Krishna Desai. Krishna is a senior product manager at Citrix. Krishna, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Andy. Thanks for having me again. So I'm a senior software engineer actually with the customer success engineering team, working primarily on the CPAD, LTSR, Citrix virtual apps and desktops, LTSR cumulative update releases. Pretty good. Not really enjoying the remote working because I'm used to, go out to offices, meet people there, which I'm, missing big time. So still getting adjusted to this new norm of remote working. But other than that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I walked in. You and Bill were talking about that. Where are you located?
I'm located in Bangalore, India. It's in the southern part of India, mainly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So life's definitely changed for you. Any idea when you'll go back into the office?
The office facilities team are still, calculating whether it could be, early August or the August end, depending on the situation, how the pandemic, really flattens the curve or something like this year. But it doesn't look good right now because in India we are seeing about 10,000 cases every day, an increase in 10,000 cases nearly. Bangalore is surprisingly doing good. Hopefully, we don't have many cases here, but we never know. So it doesn't look good at the moment. But August is when the plan is. Again, it will be a phase-wise implementation of return to office. So
wow.
Yep, our teams are working on it.
Yeah, that's when it really hits home when you talk those kind of numbers.
Yep.
Okay, well, May 13th, you wrote a blog called Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops 1912 LTSR Cumulative Update 1. So what that basically means is this is the service pack. This is the cumulative update for the new product that came out in December of 2019. 1912 would it be the number for that. Mm-hmm. So we're going to walk through this blog and just highlight, what you're covering here, if that's okay.
Yep, absolutely fine.
So we start off by talking about the latest version that's a long-term service release of 7 virtual app and desktop 1912 is right. That's its real name. Came out in December. How's the feedback been from that release?
Yeah, it's been, I've talked to some of the support engineers over the last few months, and the feedback's been amazingly good because we released a lot of good, features in this, and there were a lot of gaps as well coming from the IMA to FMA and all that. So from 715 to 1912, I think we have had in between 7 or 8 CRs, and this is really covering a lot of new things and. I'm a big fan of Citrix Director, and if you see the new things that have been implemented in Citrix Director, it's really amazing and also very helpful for the administrators with respect to app probing and log on timings and troubleshooting related things. So the feedback's been good, especially from the administrators and the customer side. With the Teams optimization pack and the browser content redirection and all the new things. feedback's been amazingly good. So we can see about, I think in the C1, later in the blog, I'll also detail about the number of fixes that we have introduced. So if we compare it to the 715 CU1 versus the 1912 CU1, the fix inflow has relatively reduced. So that's one of the good signs. That means, the quality has been amazingly good.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you have a couple links in the very beginning of the blog here that talks about the feature matrix, the top 10 reasons to upgrade, and the HTML improvement. Those are all related to the original release, right?
Yes. Those are all related to the baseline LTSRs. If you look at the feature metrics, I think you'll get to know the gap between the 715 LTSR and the 1912 LTSR. A lot of things have gone into the Linux VDAs. So if you are using the Linux VDA, I would definitely recommend you to upgrade to 1912. There's no doubt about it, because Linux VDA, I think we went on to include a lot of new virtual channels, smart card support, MCS support, the seamless printing related things, and the support to the new Ubuntu versions, and also the integration with Citrix Director, support of Citrix Director for Linux VDA sessions. So there are a lot of new things related to the Linux side. So I think the customers would really be happy if they are on Linux, if they're using Linux VDAs.
And you also have a mention here of Citrix achieving 508 and FIPS 140-2 compliance. That was also with the 1912 version, right?
Yep. That was also with the 1912 version. So we at Citrix are continuously committed to get the best security practices and standards that the industries are following. So with respect to the 508, 508 compliance and the FIPS, we also added a few other security features related to Windows LSA support, local security authority support, basically for the hosted desktops. So LSA level protection for the hosted desktops was added, and we also offered, I think, a broader suite of TLS 1.2. So I think these are all mainly covered as a part of security enhancements. But yep, these things, these are one of the key motivators to move to 1912 LTSR.
And your next comment here, which kind of ties in what you were just saying, is that the cumulative update here is really about security fixes and quality enhancements, and that's what the LTSRs are designed to do, right? They do they bring features forward, or is it really more about fixes that the LTSR cumulative updates are primarily used for?
Yep. So cumulative updates are primarily aimed at bringing in quality fixes, the customer issues. We don't take any feature enhancements as such, but again, it depends on case to case, and the management team here can take a call mostly on that. But if we have a large customers requesting for a certain feature, which can easily be backported from the current CR level to our LTSR cumulative updates, so we take such requests as well as an enhancement or as an exception kind of thing. And I'll as we go down the thread, I'll have included one of the such cases where we have a case with the BCR. So currently with the BCR server fetch client render. Can you just scroll down the blog? I think we can.
Well, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it when I see that point.
And one of the other things you highlight here is the fact that the cumulative update 1 for 1912 is something you can jump from 715 or 762 without having to do iterative steps, right?
Yep. That's one of the good things about these cumulative updates as compared to the earlier model of hotfixes, right? So hotfixes came in as a individual MSIs or an EXEs, but with the cumulative update package, we are giving the full layout itself. So it's just like a proper meta install or a proper release, wherein you can, no matter where you are, if you are on 7.6 LTSR or any CUs of 7.6 or 7.15 LTSR, or even the previously released CVAD's current releases, you can easily do a seamless upgrade to the cumulative update 1 1912 LTSR. So that's one good thing about the these cumulative update packs. It really makes the job of administrators very easy.
No, that definitely would be helpful. So you highlight here that there's over 70 issues that were reported and addressed in this cumulative update, and you don't have them all listed out here, but there is a link that takes you to the release notes that does have all 70. But I think what we're going to do now is jump into some of the ones that you highlighted as part of the blog here, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's do that. This first section talks about changes in how to install and upgrade Citrix Storefront. You want to address that?
Yes, I think that is one of the most important things that we have made changes related to the install and upgrade. So what we have is so when we surveyed, most customers actually install Storefront from the individual MSIs or the direct EXE itself, and Storefront is mostly installed on a separate server and not clubbed with the controller part. So in order to make the Storefront installation, the whole process of install more smooth and stable, what we have done is in the meta installer pack, when you click on install controller, it doesn't install Storefront. It installs all the parts of controller excluding Storefront. So if the administrator has to install Storefront and DDC on the same machine, he has to run the installation wizard twice, one for DDC and one for the controller and once for the Storefront. Mm-hmm. But Storefront is still available as a part of the meta installer, wherein you can still see the wizard to install Storefront, but it is provided in the extended deployment panel and not in the core component page. So that's one of the changes. And with respect to the command line arguments, the /component Storefront is not supported anymore, because command line arguments runs through the send desktop servers rep, that is the meta installer wizard, and that is not supported with the command line installation. So they have to run the direct EXE itself. That's one of the changes that we brought in. Again, primarily intended to make the install and upgrade seem more stable and more smoother. And since we have a large cases of customers installing Storefront separately already, and it is already on a separate deployment, not shared with the controller, so we thought this would be a good case to address a lot of install and upgrade related issues.
So Bill, this is probably right in your wheelhouse. Thoughts on this?
Well, I'm curious, and I may have missed it. Unfortunately, my internet dropped and I had to dial in. But the Storefront separate install, you may have said this, but is there any particular reason why you guys chose to do it that way?
Yeah, like I said, it's about more simplifying options. Yeah. It's about more, providing simplifying options and making the installs more stable. We have already, most customers already installed Storefront separately via, on a separate VMs and via direct EXE itself. So, providing, excluding Storefront from the regular install of the controller, so would have, has resulted in the stable installs and stable upgrades. So this was one of the things that we thought could work and help address a lot of install and upgrade related issues.
Yeah, makes sense. Most customers are installing them on separate servers anyway, so having a separate install process is certainly does make sense. I was just curious if there was some other technical reason.
No, nothing much. It's mainly again simplifying. Just keeping things simple as it is, because it doesn't make sense to address a small, crowd and then bring in more issues with respect to install and upgrade. So, this would be more stable approach to do it.
But it probably does a good psychological benefit of encouraging people not to install the Storefront on their controller, which
on their controller,
you don't want.
Yeah, there's that, of course.
Yep, there's also that.
All right, so a bit here about the cumulative update supporting Windows 10 May 2020 edition.
So we continue to do this for every cumulative update releases. I think since Microsoft started releasing their Win 10 versions, semi-annual releases, SACs is what they call. So we have aligned our release schedule of cumulative updates accordingly, so that whenever there's a new version of Windows 10, we would like our cumulative update one to support it. So I think back in May, Microsoft released, made their 20H1, what they call, I think, Windows 10 version 2004 as their generally available Win 10 version, and the 1912C1 supports it. So that's something that we continue to do going forward as well.
Well, and that's something that won't end, because Microsoft will continually evolve Windows 10 and have new releases of Windows 10, and that's something Citrix is probably going to be chasing for as long
definitely.
Long as in the space.
Yes.
All right, we've got a list of quality fixes here. I'm curious around this double hop scenario. I'll read it. Double hop scenario: a single user might consume 2 Citrix concurrent licenses. That's been a topic of discussion for many years, especially since the re-architecture. You want to address that one?
So for those who don't know about the develop scenario, I'll just give a quick brief background on that. So if you have a HDX session launched, a HDX hosted desktop session launched, and within the hosted desktop session, if you launch another hosted app or a hosted desktop, that becomes the double hop scenario. So we had a few customers reporting an issue where a single user might consume 2 concurrent licenses in such cases. So this was one of the issues that caused license consumption, increased the license consumption. This was with respect to one single user, and if we have like more users coming in with the more users trying out the double hop scenarios, then the license consumption doubles, and eventually there will be another user blocked out because of the no licenses available for the consumption. So this is one of the critical fixes that we addressed during the CU1.
Now is that assuming separate sites or within the same site, or just the same license server that's being used by multiple sites?
Yeah, it's the same license server being used by the multiple sites.
Okay.
As long as the license server is shared between the multiple sites, this issue was bound to occur.
So I guess in the past, if it was coming from the same site, it didn't happen, but separate sites, it did, even if they were using the same license server.
Yep. It looks like it. From the issue behavior, it looks like that. Double hop scenarios from the same site.
All right, and then the next bullet, it says Machine Creation Services, MCS, supports the following new hypervisor features: guest, UEFI boot, and secure boot. I guess I had forgotten that was an issue.
No, it's primarily not an issue. I think I would call it more like a small minor enhancements related to the MCS, because with the introduction of Citrix Hypervisor 8.0, I think we added tech preview support for Windows guest operating systems booting via UEFI mode. So with this support, I think if customers are using Citrix Hypervisor 8.0, then if they want to boot their VMs, if they want to use MCS for their catalogs, for their VDA catalogs, then that required some additional configuration and support provided from the CVAD side. So we had to make some changes related to MCS related functionalities to make this feature work on the Citrix Hypervisor 8.0. So this was it. I think the one that you are addressing was related to the write back cache or something, MCS IO, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next bullet you have here is when you configure the browser content redirection policy to server fetch and client render mode, you route traffic only through statically configured web proxy. So maybe let me try to clarify what this means. So when you're fetching content, but it's going to be rendered on the client, it still gets pulled through the server and then rendered locally. That's server side fetch, client side render, and that's in an offloading scenario where you're offloading the media. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically BCR is an offloading functionality as well, and we have basically 2 modes: server fetch client render and client fetch client render. So client fetch client render is the default mode wherein you don't want any offloading. You want the entire thing to be offloaded on the client, so that you save a lot of CPU cycles on the server. You don't burden the VDA server on it. But in cases where you don't have a bandwidth on the client, or you don't have certain things rendered on the client, you fall back to the server fetch client render mode. So that is also one of the modes wherein the BCR happens, where server gives the web page that has to be rendered, and then client renders it. So server fetches the web page, and then client renders it. So some of the basically with this BCR is again supported only with the Citrix Workspace app, wherein we have a Chromium browser embedded with it, so that it can actually do a client fetch, client render itself. So the Chromium browser will do a fetch from there on the client side and then render. So with respect to this functionality, like I said, it is more like a feature enhancement kind of thing, because previously the BCR, when it is configured with the server fetch and client render board, it only allowed the administrator to route the HTTP traffic through one statically configured web proxy. But however, I think we had seen that a lot of administrators had expressed the desire to configure the BCR to route the traffic through various proxies depending on their own host or destination addresses. So this feature is more like an enhancement to the BCR in this mode, particularly server fetch client render, wherein we have the VDA. We have a file wherein that file will have the host names or the destination address configured by it, and VDA will query that file and then ask to which proxy has to be used to route the HTTP traffic. Mm-hmm. So it basically does that. It's mainly an enhancement sort of thing.
And just for clarification, when it says server fetch, that's the VDA doing the fetching. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's the VDA doing the fetch, and the client is rendering it.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, let me pause here. Any questions or thoughts on these enhancements so far?
No, pretty straightforward. I don't really have any comments at this point.
Okay. All right. So next bullet here says when you reconnect to an active session or another machine, redirected printers and client drives might be missing. Sounds like that was an enhancement or a fix, right?
That's mainly a fix, and we had the fix. The issue was reproducible only in certain customer environments, because this is a straightforward case of the session roaming feature. Session roaming is where you have a session opened in a certain client device, and then you want to move those sessions to another client device, and then you go to another client device, and then when you launch it, all these sessions have to be smoothly roamed. So that is the smooth roaming feature that we have. So a few customers had reported that when they do a smooth roaming feature, the printers and the client drives redirection was missing. So there was a fix. So it was later found out that the customer was probably trying out the smooth roaming feature within a fraction of a second, wherein because if the session hasn't completely established on client 1, and then when you try to roam it completely on the client 2, there were a few issues with respect to printers and client drive mapping. So if you wait for a certain time to get the session established completely, then there were no issues. But this was one of the fixes that we provided for a few customers with respect to the smooth roaming feature.
I bet that was common.
This clearly says that if I understand correctly, you're really talking about, like you said, session roaming. This is where somebody didn't lock or disconnect their existing session. They just wanted it to roam active from one machine to another. Yeah.
Yep. Correct. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which I do a ton of, but I'm typically using cloud data and I'm not printing, so I probably never even noticed. But yeah, it makes sense that if you don't have it locked or disconnected, that there needs to be a little extra intelligence there.
Yep. Yeah, I think this case is mostly comes in for a lot of healthcare customers, wherein the doctors use their iPads when they are going to check, monitor on patients, then try their applications out, and then when they come back to their desk and then try to launch it again via their laptops or the desktops. So they want all those apps have to be smoothly roamed here. So this is one of the common cases in the healthcare segment.
All right, Krishna, the last bullet you have here is, it says reading data from client drive might take a long time after you change the value of the following registry key. I won't read the registry key to the listeners, but what was that related to?
So we had a customer who was, trying to switch from 6.5 XenApp to the CVAD LTSR, and with 6.5 XenApp, we had provided certain registry keys to basically, enable faster client drive access. So the registry keys were set in these XenApp servers, and the customer had made the same configuration on the CVAD VDAs as well. So typically the customer is trying to export the Excel file from a third-party application onto a client drive, and that process was taking a lot of time. After after applying these registry keys, it reduced by 30-40 seconds, but still when it was compared to 6.5, it was still significantly higher. So our engineering team had worked on this. I think this is one of the complicated fix, because the code of 6.5 is completely different than the code of CVAD LTSRs now, and it took a lot of time to debug and then find the root cause of it, and then I think our engineers fixed it in the meantime. So that's one thing.
Okay, good to know. Good to be on the lookout for it. Hopefully it's just fixed.
Yep.
When people upgrade, they'll find that. So you've got another call out here to the complete list of fixes as part of this cumulative update. Are there any others that you didn't highlight that maybe now's a good time to just bring them up? And it's okay to say no, but if there are others that you would like to call out, we can do so.
Yeah, there were some fixes that we provided specifically with respect to launching the VDAs were failing for some customers who were using the third-party vulnerability scanners and all these kind of applications. The launch was failing for a few customers for VDA, so that was one thing. And then there were 2 or 3 fixes that we provided for smart card, fast login support, and then there were some issues with respect to smart card pin prompt, so those were addressed as well. I think that pretty much highlights the most important things. Let me check if I've missed anything.
So I think for most people, right, the encouragement would be go out and check, and if you're having an issue, install the latest cumulative update, see if it goes away, cross-reference that to this list that you provided here. And if you're then definitely reach out to Citrix support and let them know what you're seeing.
Yes, absolutely. So I would definitely encourage our customers to, first, if they are on 715 LTSRs, I think I've already provided the required resources there, to move to switch to 1912 LTSR. They can directly upgrade from, if no matter which CU they are on, they can directly upgrade to the latest cumulative, that is CU1 of 1912 LTSR, and enjoy all the new and exciting features that we have provided there. That's one thing. And currently with the situation being remote work being the new norm now, I think tools like Teams and I also read somewhere that a lot of education institutions are now currently running their education videos via online, and BCR is one feature that I can think of that would really be handy when it comes to online education platform. So although BCR was supported with some add-on with 715 LTSR, but here with 1912, I think we are getting the full-fledged functionality without doing any additional configuration side. So BCR and Microsoft Teams optimization, along with Citrix Director, the abilities that we have introduced in the Citrix Director for administrators to make easy troubleshooting and app probing and desktop probing kind of features will really be handy during the remote working conditions. So there's a lot to go for in CU1. So, yep.
Yeah, browser content redirections, one that I still find a lot of customers that don't know that exists, and some of the older ones knew it from the old days and how it used to exist, but a lot of customers don't realize that content server fetch, client render, server, client render, client fetch, and client. There's lots of options there that may be able to help you offload some of that workload. And
yep. I think there's a lot of material on BCR as well on our Citrix eDocs page, which will clearly call out the policies that needs to be configured and how it works and whatnot with all the architecture diagrams. I think it will be very easy for customers to configure and then run it out.
So, Krishna, when do we expect the next cumulative update? Do you guys have a certain schedule? Is it every 6 months? Is it just as needed? How does that work?
Our management is currently working on the schedule for the next cumulative update. I think it'll be definitely in the second half of this year. I mean, first half is anyway coming to an end. we are planning sometime in the mid-second half of this year, but we don't have the timelines yet. Our product managers and the management team are still working on it, on the timelines. But we are constantly working on the customer fixes of these. We have already received a few requests from the customer side, and our engineering teams are working on fixing them as and when we speak.
Yep.
So the customers are free to call out support if they have any issues with respect to 1912 or C1 LTSR.
Okay. Well, Krishna, thanks for joining. Bill, any additional thoughts or comments before we let him go?
Yeah, I wanted to just bring one thing up, Krishna, and that is, can you provide a real quick thumbnail sketch, if you will, or just a summary of how customers get the LTSR? You have a link in here, but then how they install it. 'Cause as I recall, it's a full ISO with, basically a full install, and they just run that on their existing storefront servers, delivery controllers, and the VDAs. Is that accurate?
Yep, that's accurate. That's accurate, Bill. So once you go to the login download page with the link that I've provided there, you'll be asked to enter your Citrix account credentials. And once you download the ISO and then extract it, you'll be able to see the autorun.exe that will show you basically the product install wizard.
Right.
And from the product install wizard, if you want to upgrade the controller part, just click on the delivery controller icon there, or the button there. That will completely upgrade the delivery controller, except for the storefront, because since storefront is not in now is coming as an extended component, right? So there's also a button for the storefront upgrade, and then the customer has to, if he has storefront and delivery controller installed on both the machines, he has to run that wizard twice on the same machine, or anyway he has to do it twice separately on different machines. So that's it. It's a seamless process.
And to get the full benefit of all the updates, obviously, they just to reinforce the issue for the customers or our listeners, they need to install the update on all the VDAs as well. That would be the virtual desktops or the session host servers running the VDA software.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, Krishna, as always, thanks for joining us, and we'll do it again next time there's another cumulative update, and we can.
Yep.
Citrix has been working on with the update sequence.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Thank you, Bill. I really appreciate the opportunity that you guys gave me to come on the podcast and talk about the cumulative updates, which I always love to do. So, talk about Citrix and whatever we at Citrix are actually immensely proud for helping out our customers during these pandemic times and enabling their businesses to continue, and we will ensure to continue to do so as well.
Great.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Andy, for listening to us, and also appreciate all the great works that you're doing for Citrix and our customers. So Absolutely. That's there. Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks for listening to the Citrix Session with your hosts, Andy Whiteside and Bill Sutton. A special thanks to our guests. Podcast produced by Pete Downing. Head over to XenTegra.com/podcast to listen to all podcasts in this series.